The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Maria DeSabella from the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank. I'm the training coordinator here, and we'd like to welcome all of you joining us from near and far today. Before we get started with this fantastic informational webinar, we would like to do a little bit of housekeeping with everyone. If this is your first time with a webinar, don't worry, it's easy and painless, and I hope that you have some fun today and learn some new things. So for housekeeping, we are welcoming everyone. We want to hear from you. So throughout the session, if you have any questions, there is a question box that you can type in your question or comment, and we will answer them probably throughout the session, but definitely we have a time at the very end to address any and all questions. So that is one way that we want to hear from you. Also, there is a way that I can unmute you. Right now, everyone is joining us as listen-only mode. So there is an opportunity, if you have a microphone or a headset, we could also unmute you. So we can look at that a little bit later. So your participation is valued. We really appreciate all that you do. So that's a little bit of the housekeeping for you as well. All right, without further ado, we are going to start with our welcoming and introductions. I have a full house here in my office. We have here in Harrisburg. It's a lovely day. I don't know where you are. It's sunny and not the case, unfortunately, but we have a lot of warmth. We have some great folks here. Joining me today is Adam Peterson. Woo! Elder Share Manager. We have Megan Spay as well. Hello, hello. And Barb Chris. I'm going to have them introduce you, and then we're going to toss it up north to our coworker Pam as well. So Adam, here you go.
Good morning, everybody. First and foremost, I just wanted to thank everybody for your participation today. There's a lot of really important information that we're going to be discussing, and I know a lot of you have other commitments and other things going on, so thank you for your time and just sitting in on this really imperative call today. And I'm really looking forward to sharing all of this new information with you and gaining your feedback as well. So thank you, and I will pass it along to Megan.
Hello, this is Megan. If you're in some of the southern counties, you probably know my voice or my name or see my emails, and I am here to help Adam present this new information with you and address any questions you might have.
Nice.
Good morning, everyone. This is Barb. I echo Megan's comments about recognition of my voice or name, but I just wanted to also let you know we're here. If the questions you ask are not answered clearly enough for you, please reach out, call us. We'll get through this together because that's what we do.
That's right.
All right, glad you're all here.
Good. And we are here to serve. So Pam Hicks up north in Williamsport. Are you there? Say hello.
I am. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And my role is really to support Adam and the gang and do what we do in the northern tier. So I echo what they have said. If anybody needs any help, and I think I do have a few scheduled to go out and help and to recruit some new sites. So excited to be working with you.
All right, here we go. We are ready to begin. Wow, this information. I had a sneak peek, everyone. It's very informative, and it is a lot of details, but we have a great team, so they're going to guide us through. So let's get started. Everyone ready with their note-taking? No, just kidding. No, here we go.
Get those notepads out right now. No, I'm just kidding, everyone. So we are going to get started. I just want to make sure that the slides are working. Okay, they are. We are going to get started today with the new CSFP participant certification form, which is form 202002. And first and foremost, I just want to apologize to everybody for sending out an incorrect form to begin with. we were provided a form from Hunger Free Pennsylvania, who is the state contractor, and about 3 days after they had sent it out, and after I had sent it out to all of you, they had said that there was a mistake on it and it was no longer valid. So I just wanted to first and foremost apologize for any confusion that caused, because I know some of you were using that form. If you need any clarification on if that form, you're using the correct form, the top of the form should say 202002 at the very top. So just make sure that you look at that, and then if that's the number of the form that you have, then you're all good to go. If it's not and you don't have a copy of that, then let either Megan, Barb, or myself know, and we'll provide you with one. All right, I know some of you have already been using that new form, which is great. That new form needs to be used moving forward. That is the only acceptable form. So the revision G form that you were using before, and then also the form that I sent out that was the incorrect version of this current form that we're going to be discussing, are no longer valid at all. It has to be on this 202002 form. And now we're going to go through how to fill this bad boy out, all right? So it's pretty self-explanatory, and there are actually some new versions of this form that I know Megan, Barb, and myself are huge fans of, that have, kind of taken away some of the convolution from the other form, and then, just added some, some really, really cool parts that make it just a little bit easier for everyone. So starting at the top of the form, name of participant, self-explanatory. Then we're going to move right across to the right at date of birth. Underneath of that says participant must provide proof. They must provide a proof of age. As we all know, there are 2 qualifications for CSFP, proof of age being one of them. So we would put date of birth there. All participants must be 60. Must be 60 years of age in order to participate in CSFP. Across from that is gender, so male or female would be checked. All right, moving right along, underneath of that we have street address. We write in the street address. If they have an apartment number, please provide that as well. We have a little section for that now. And then we have city and zip. Okay, so both of those are self-explanatory too. Underneath of that, we have sections for telephone numbers, as in plural now. We have a home phone number and we have a cell phone number. Only one number actually needs to be provided. You don't need to actually put both numbers. If you want to put both numbers, that is great, and that's perfectly fine. If you want to have a home number or a cell number, both put in, that's good. Or if you would want to just put a home telephone number or just a cell phone number, both of those would suffice as well. And yeah, Barb, go ahead.
I would say ask the senior what was the best number for them to be reached at, and use that one.
Perfect. Okay. Good suggestion.
Yeah, and that is a good suggestion, really good suggestion. So whatever is most comfortable for the senior and whatever they're going to answer, would definitely be the one that you would want to use. And if there's no telephone number at all, which happens, you can leave both of those blank. That's not a required field that has to be filled out. So you can leave it blank, or you can put NA for not applicable. Either of those is fine if there is no telephone number to be used. All right, so underneath of that now, we have total household income amount. I will stress this until I'm red in the face. This is, if not the most important part of this webinar, it is one of the most important parts of the webinar. So listening ears, all right, everybody? All right, let's listen up and let's make sure that we get this right. So this is household income, all right, not individual income. Household income, household income, household income. You're going to hear me say household income so much because it really is important that we're doing this, because this can determine eligibility. If you have a household of 1, let's go through a couple of examples. If you have a household of 1, that's really easy, because all you're going to need to have is the proof of income for that specific senior that's living in that household, okay? Because it's just one person. All right, and as we know, the second qualification for CSFP is proof of income, proof of household income. Proof of age was the other. Proof of household income is here. So, like I said, household of 1, real simple. All we're doing is just checking and verifying that the income matches, what they have in that household of 1. Then we have another example. Let's say we have a household of 2. All right. The box is not restricted to 1 box per household. Let's say we have Neil and Jolie that live together. They can both get a box. They are both allowed to have a box in the household. However, they would both have to fill out their own registration form. Like, you couldn't do a registration form for Neil and Jolie. Neil would have to fill out his form. Jolie would have to fill out her form. Let's say Neil makes $700 per year on Social Security and Julie makes $500 per year on a pension. When you're writing in that household income amount for both registration forms, it would be $1,200 for both, because we're using household income, not individual income. It's not like it would be $700 for Neil and $500 for Julie. It would be $1,200 for both. So we just want to make sure that we clarify that we're, using the household income amount, because that really can determine eligibility. You want to make sure that you're capturing everybody that's in the household, regardless of if they're participating in the program or not. They have to provide household income for everybody, whether it's, they're living with kids and they have an income, that income needs to be provided. If they're living with, other seniors, then that income needs to be provided. So just make sure that we're getting that information, clarifying that to the seniors, that it's not just their income that needs to be provided when they're signing up for the program. It is everybody's income in the household. Anything you guys want to add to that?
Just to add to that a bit, yeah, it's everybody's income in the household, regardless of their age in the household. I see we had a question about that. And the only other thing I would like to add to that is that it's gross income, so before any deductions. Just be sure of that. I know on the Social Security forms we'll see deductions for Medicare on there, and you must go with the gross amount before any deductions.
Okay, that was perfect. Kathy just sent a question in to clarify a little bit more about gross income, which you have said.
Yes.
Before deductions.
Yes. Gross income is just before deductions.
Okay, perfect.
And I would like to add that, and Adam, I don't know if you brought that up about SNAP. SNAP benefits is not included in the income, and they do not need to list their savings or pension or savings account, I would say. If they're have a retirement distribution, that would be income.
Yes.
But.
So basically, and those were great points. As Megan pointed out, as Barb pointed out, SNAP is considered another service, as CSFP is considered a service. So SNAP benefits wouldn't be included in income. And then Megan was correct as well in mentioning gross income. It's everything before deductions. Any form of income that is going into their bank account on a monthly or yearly basis needs to be accounted for, is the good rule of thumb. Okay? Anything that they have in savings that's just sitting in savings, that doesn't count because it's not current income. All right? Okay. All right, moving right along. How many persons live in this household? That would be your household size. So you would just write the number of the household size over there. And then underneath of that, we have household income reported is received, check 1. So that is just asking what the chronology is and when they're receiving the income. So it's either a weekly, monthly, or annual income. As most of you know, this is usually always monthly or annual. So you'll just check whenever what you're receiving as far as when the seniors are getting those checks and what they're getting in regards to household income. All right, underneath of that, we have source of income. You will check all that apply in regards to what a senior is getting in regards to their income. So options that are included are disability, pension, Social Security, underemployment. So underemployment would be like if they have a part-time job and they were working and bringing in an income in that regard. Unemployment would be an unemployment check. So that would just be if they were collecting unemployment. And then there's nothing else written in there. The old form actually had an other marked. That isn't on this form. So if there is another form of income in some regard, you can just write that in onto the right of unemployment there, and that should be fine, and that would suffice. Just let us know what it is, and then we'll mark that. All right. One other quick note is that we had a question a couple weeks ago, which was a really good question, and I did get clarification on it, on if seniors can participate in both CSFP and WIC, and the answer is yes, they can. CSFP actually used to be a program for kids and for seniors, but now CSFP, as we all know, is only a senior program, so the WIC should be going to the kids, whereas the senior box would be going to the seniors if they were involved with both. So just wanted to give clarification on that as well. All right, so moving right along, form of ID provided. You'll just check whichever one the senior provides, and that would be driver's license, birth certificate, passport, PAID card, resident alien card, all suffice in regards to proving their age. Our next section is, are you Hispanic or Latino? Yes or no. And then underneath of that, what is your race? Check all that apply, and that would work. You would just check, whatever race the senior is. Now, I just want to say real quick that I have actually fought with USDA and with Hunger Free to have a do not want to answer on that section, because I don't think seniors should have to answer that if they don't want to. As you can see, I haven't been very successful because that option isn't given. But please, if anyone ever gives you a hard time or says that they don't want to answer that question, just express to them that this has absolutely no bearing on their eligibility. It's only that USDA wants to know who they're serving and where. So, if anyone, doesn't want to answer that question, please tell them that it won't affect their eligibility, that nothing is going to happen in regards to their senior box. They just want this for data and statistic purposes, and that's it. If someone refuses to answer, then just check what you think is most applicable to that specific senior. Okay, so we're going to move forward with additional household members, okay? So, with the additional household members section, we've already had a couple of mistakes with this, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to clear this up now. This is for only for household members in the house other than the senior. So, if you have a household of one, and it's just the senior living there, you leave this section completely blank. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to write the senior's name into there at all. If you have a household of two, then you would. Anything more than a household of one is where you're going to have to use this information. So it's really easy. All we're adding is first name, last name, birth date, and circling whether male or female gender of the other participant in the household. So if you have a household of two, there should be one person written in there, the other person that's living with the senior. If you have a household of three, there should be two people written in there. Household of four, there should be three people written in there, and so on, and so on, and so on. Now, I will mention, let's say you might be asking, what if we have a household of six? Because, there's four people written in there, obviously. There is a back section to the registration form, and you can actually see that it's a 2-page form. That back section can be used if there's more, if there's more than 5 people in the household. However, if there's not, you do not ever have to send that back section back to us. You only have to send the front page. We will print that back section on the back of the form on our end. You don't have to worry about that. I know a lot of you have just some equipment that doesn't always tend to work the best way, and sometimes our equipment doesn't work the best way either, to be perfectly honest.
Our fax machine.
You guys know about our how fun our fax machine can be from time to time, yeah. But anyway, so if you don't need to use the back of the form, then you don't need to send us the back of the form, is the rule of thumb. So only use that part if there are more than 5 people in the household. All right, I hope that makes sense in regards to, who you have to add for the additional household members, because that is like one of the big new things as part of the registration form.
So, Adam, there was a question earlier about, does a live-in caretaker count as part of the household and being listed as income or anywhere? How is that addressed? And I need to thank that person that asked that question. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, so a live-in caretaker, it would depend on the circumstance. If the person is actually like living there and contributing to bills and paying certain, for certain services and everything, and gets mail, and that is like considered their home address, then yes, they would be counted as a household member living in that household. That's correct. But if they were just there, that was their full-time job, and they were there for 8 hours a day, and that was what they were to do, 8 to 10 hours, and they're just living or working there and not actually living there, then it wouldn't count, and they wouldn't be part of the household.
There are some services where caretaker comes in for 6 weeks at a time. Again, if they're providing a service and they're not actually, they're staying there, they're not living there.
Yeah.
But they can sometimes 6 weeks at a time.
Yeah, and if it's temporary placement like that, then that's not their actual address either. And if it's temporary, then no, they're not a household member. It's only if they're actually living there full time.
That was a question from Karen, so thank you. Hopefully that's been addressed.
Thank you, Karen.
I had another comment about the birth dates of the household members. I've talked to a few people that, there are some seniors that just don't remember the birth dates. And you'll be using these forms next month for the recertification. What I think, they need to list the names. If they can't remember the birth date, we can add that in. But, you will still need to get the information. But I don't want it to stop the recertification. And there are just some that just don't remember the day or the year. So,
just best guess.
All right, good comment. All right, moving along, we got to keep moving. So on that big paragraph after the additional household members, where there's bold lettering, it says, please indicate a decision by placing a check mark in the appropriate box. Just an abbreviated version of what that is. That is, if we find other sources of food outside of the food bank that we think could be beneficial to the senior, would we be able to give out their contact information? And that's all that is, just a yes or a no. And there is no right or wrong answer. They can say yes, they can say no. Simple as that. All right? Okay. So underneath of that, then, we get to signatures. We have signature of participant or caretaker. I'll get to caretaker in a second, so let's just say that this is just a regular participant. You need to circle one or the other, participant or caretaker. So we'll start with participant, circle participant, and then the participant signs. And then underneath of that, caretaker only. I'll get to that in a little bit. Proxy 1, proxy 2. You wouldn't have to worry about that at the moment. I'll get to that in a little bit. Underneath of that would be your site name, and then beside that is county, and then underneath of that is site representative signature, which would be your signature, and then you would date the time in which you are filling out the form. And I do want to stress real quick, and I was going to mention this a little bit later in the show, but I'm just going to do it now so that I don't forget. The seniors should never be filling out these forms, ever. The forms should always be filled out by you. There should never be a time when the seniors are given the forms and taking them home with them, which we've heard, because how are we then proving proof of age and proof of household income if the seniors are taking the forms home with them and filling them out? We're not. So that can't happen. The forms should always be in your specific location at your center, wherever that is, whatever location that's at, and you or trained volunteers who have done this training, hopefully, are the ones that should be filling out the forms. The seniors should never be filling out the forms on their own. especially because a lot of times the handwriting is really difficult to read too. But in all honesty, that's something that needs to be adhered to, and something that you guys need to take control over, and be committed to signing the seniors up when they come in. All right. Okay, so let's move back up to caretaker on the registration form. A caretaker is for homebound seniors. And a caretaker doesn't have to be an actual caretaker. That's just the name that it's given. A caretaker can be anyone. It can be a spouse. It can be a sibling. It can be a kid. It can be a friend. It can be a neighbor. It can be someone from your church. It can be anyone. So, don't just see that word and see caretaker and assume that has to be an actual caretaker per se. That's just the name that it's given. But a caretaker is only for homebound seniors, and that's it. Just for homebound seniors. So let's say you have somebody come in that wants to sign up their mom who is homebound. That person can be their caretaker. The kid can be a caretaker for their mom. You would fill out the form exactly the same way with all of the seniors' information up top. Proof of household income, name, and all that would be the seniors. Except at the bottom then, the caretaker would sign their name, and you would circle caretaker, and then they would print their name on that second line. And that's it. That's the only difference. That second line should never be used unless it's a caretaker. All right. And now we'll get to proxies. Proxies are a little bit different than caretakers. Proxies are just for seniors who can get in and pick up their box, but may need it picked up for them on occasion. A proxy, in theory, can pick the box up every month for a senior, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, really it's just for seniors that think, you know what, I don't move around well in the winter, and this winter was a perfect example of that. Arthritis in the knees or whatnot, and I have a difficult time getting out in the winter, so I want to sign a proxy up for those 3 months to pick up my box for me. It's for homebound seniors who aren't homebound, but basically, it's just basically the seniors just sign the proxy up in order to just have somebody that can pick their box up for them in months that they can't. Now we always express and we try and recommend that couples that sign up together should just be each other's proxies, because if one of them is sick or has a doctor appointment or whatnot, and they can't make it, then the other person could just pick up both boxes if they're a proxy. But if they're not a proxy for them, then they can't. So that's really important to distinguish as well. We have to have this information, designated to us on this sheet for somebody to be able to pick the box up for somebody else. Another important something to mention about proxies cannot recertify for seniors, and proxies have to recertify themselves as well every year. So if somebody has been a proxy for somebody else, then they need to recertify in April, just like the senior needs to recertify. If they don't recertify, then they get removed in April, and it's up to the senior to pick up their box starting in May. The proxy wouldn't be able to. And the difference between that and a caretaker is, well, the caretaker would always be picking the box up because the senior is homebound. All right. So, and the other thing too is caretakers can have a proxy. Let's say your caretaker can't make it for a month, then they can sign a proxy up as well. One thing that we are going to implement, let's say you have a senior come in with their proxy. One second. Let's say you have a senior come in with their proxy like 2 months after they sign up. What you'll do with your registration form is you will just pull that out. You'll have the proxy print their name, sign, and then date, whatever date that is, and then you'll send an updated copy of the registration form to us, and then we'll just, trash the old version that we had, and you'll just keep that new version. You don't have to do anything except just print and sign the proxy's names onto that sheet. So, it makes it really easy because all you have to do, like I said before, as many of you know, we had the proxy form, the whole proxy form that you had to go through, which was a real pain. So just having an extra form and more paperwork, we were all really happy to see that the proxy got added to this registration form. Like I said, if anyone has any questions about that, let us know. But if somebody comes in with a proxy later on in the game, then all you would have to do is just have them print and sign on the senior's registration form, and then send that in to us so that we have that articulated. Okay.
Back to, there's a caretaker question, Adam.
Okay.
So Gwen, thank you so much for the question. Gwen is asking if her residents, that they may change caretakers a few times during the year. Would a new form be required if this happens? So this is in question to a caretaker changing. Great question.
That is a great question. No, the actual form itself, I wouldn't say that it would have to change because really we're only looking for the proof of age and the proof of household income. Those are the two requirements, not who your caretakers and who your proxies are. So really, if you wanted, you could just scribble out whoever's name was on the bottom of that as far as the caretaker goes, and then you would just have the new caretaker sign and print their name underneath or next to where the old caretaker's signature and printed name was.
And that is important because we list proxy names and caretaker names on the sign-in sheets now. So yeah, get them to us and we'll update the sign-in sheets.
Yeah, very important. Thank you, Gwen, and hopefully, Jody, that answers your question as well. Your question was similar to Gwen, saying, can there be, what if different caregivers are all the time? So just making sure that form that you have is updated and then sent into Barb and Megan.
Yeah, so I'll just, I was going to touch on this later, but I'll just touch on it now. Barb kind of already alluded to it. So with the sign-in sheets, and we have a whole section on sign-in sheets coming up that we'll get to, but with the sign-in sheets then, there's proxies and caretakers now written in on the sign-in sheets. So if you don't see a caretaker's name or a proxy's name written on the sign-in sheet, then that's a good indication to you that we don't have documentation for that caretaker or for that proxy. And nobody should be picking the box up for the senior other than the senior if there's not a name written in to the sign-in sheet for the caretaker and proxy section. So I did want to articulate that to everybody.
I'm sorry, piping in. I'm anticipating this next month, and because the seniors have to sign these forms, the proxies aren't going to be there in April. So that's, and we're asking them to recertify as well. So if they would like to print the name or hold on to the forms a couple more days to see whether you can get that proxy signature. But again, we don't want to hold up recertification. But I'm assuming a proxy's not coming in with the senior in April. So we may have to get that information later and that you get that to us so that we can get it on to the sign-in sheet. But don't hold up the recert. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Lots of great questions. You guys are listening and talking about different scenarios. This question came in then about a proxy. So the question from Jody is, can we, meaning the site or individual that is registering, site coordinator, can we be their proxy and sign for their boxes?
You can, but you can't just be their proxy and sign for their boxes and let the box sit in your facility. If you're going to be their proxy, then you need to deliver it to them. Because that's not the point of being a proxy. A point of being a proxy is to pick up the box and deliver it to the senior that day. So I'm fine with you being the proxy. However, you would definitely need to have a way of getting the box delivered to the senior either that day or the next day. I don't want you being a proxy and just signing so that you say that you don't have leftover boxes, but then there's still boxes sitting in the facility that are signed for.
Any other questions on proxies or caretakers while we're at it? Here we go. If they constantly have different caretakers and they can't come in and sign, figured that it would be easier if I signed. Okay, well.
She was the one asking about the proxies.
Yeah, thank you, Jody. So hopefully that answers your question and making sure that the box is delivered and right to them. That makes sense. You want to get them the food. That's all we're here to do.
Right.
So we appreciate that, Jody, and those extra efforts. Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you as well.
Yeah.
And
I will mention, too, it is the senior's responsibility to come and pick the box up every month. Anytime that any of you go out and deliver the boxes or whatnot, you're going above and beyond, which is amazing. And thank you so much for doing that for the seniors. I mean, I know that they appreciate it so much, and so do I, and so does Megan and Barb. But just so you know, as far as the requirements of the program, it is the responsibility of the senior to come and pick their box up every month. And just one other, quick thing that I do want to touch on. Maria, you can actually change the slide, I think. I think we're just about done with this.
there's a couple other questions.
Oh, are there?
in queue.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
All right, here we go. Karen, she's very excited to share that she has very eager residents. They are already coming into her office and they want to complete the recertification. Whoa, all right. Can I complete them with residents before the distribution?
Can I just tell Karen to hold off because we have a whole section on recertification coming up in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
And I think that I'll be able to touch on most, if not all of that, in about 5 minutes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Very good. Thanks, Karen. Yes, and before we move on from this sheet, because it is a question about proof of income, the specific things that we are looking for to prove income. Thank you for the question, Janet. So if we scroll back up to sources of income, we'll have those folks, please, the experts are here.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
The question is, when you say proof of income, what are we looking for to prove the income?
So what you're looking for is, if you remember, it's gross income. So the majority of your seniors are going to provide Social Security. So you're going to look for their monthly Social Security statement, which is sent out in January of every year. If they don't have it, then you can tell them that they can request it, and it will be mailed back to them by the Office of Social Security. And then basically on those sheets, it lists exactly what they receive in benefits, Social Security benefits on a monthly basis, and then it'll also list any and all deductions that they have coming out of their Social Security check, and you will want to do that very top number on the Social Security message, because it'll have their gross income at the very top there before any of the deductions come out. As far as disability and pension, those are statements as well. So you would just look for the gross amount that's coming through those forms too. A bank statement does work, but I would say that if you're within like $100 of them being eligible, then you're probably not going to want to use a bank statement, because bank statement shows net income, it doesn't show gross, and there's a decent chance that they could have more deductions than $100. So that's usually my rule of thumb. You can use a bank statement if it's more than $100, but if it's less than that, then you're going to want to actually see the hard copy forms of the income that they're receiving.
I had also read that you are able to show if a person is working 4 weeks of a pay stub.
Yeah, correct,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah, that's correct.
So a follow-up question is the documentation. What documentation do we need to keep? And does everyone in the household need to provide this documentation?
All right. That's a really good question. So you need to keep all of your registration forms and all of your sign-in sheets for 3 years on file. And you will get visited. There will be, as many of you have already, there will be monitoring visits done by PDA, the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture, and they will come out and they will look to see, if you if you have all of that stuff filed. So you do want to make sure that you have all of that filed. As far as proof of age and proof of income, you do not need to make copies of driver's licenses and of bank statements and social security statements and all of that. You don't need to do that. After we've trained you and after you've done this, we trust you. So you don't need to do that. You don't need to keep any of that on file. As far as the income for other members of the household, that does need to be brought in, though, because remember, we're proving household income. We're not just looking at individual income. So anybody that has an income within the household for the senior that's trying to apply, that needs to be brought in, and that needs to be shown so that you can determine eligibility.
Okay, awesome. Perfect. All right, woo. This form is very important.
I know.
Lots of details.
This is why we were on you guys, to be on this call.
They are very
We've had a lot of turnover in the sites. I know a lot of you out there do know this, and you've been doing these forms, and you see where the changes are, and we appreciate your patience, but we have had a lot of turnover in a lot of our other sites.
All right, this is still on the form. Christine, great question. When would we use underemployment for the seniors?
So, so underemployment is when a senior has a part-time job and they're working somewhere, so they would just need to provide a pay stub. And that's it, Christine. Yeah, it's just if they were working in some capacity and was getting an income in that regards.
Perfect. All right. And Candy, this is a great question. Yes, it is. And I think I know the answer, but I don't want to say. So will these registration forms, these recerts, be pre-filled as in previous years? And I think the answer is?
So, the answer is yes. But once again, there's a whole section on recertification, and I'll get to that in, like I said, 5 minutes.
Okay.
So we're almost to recertification, I promise, and I'll have all that information for you here very, very shortly.
Okay, good. We should stand up and stretch. No, just kidding. All right. Here we go.
All
right. Thank you. We're moving on.
All right. So we just have one or two more quick items to discuss in regards to the registration form. I already mentioned about the seniors not filling out their own form, so we'll just skip right through that. So don't send registration forms for seniors that you know are not eligible. That's also really important. We have to send a form back to you that you then need to give to the senior if you send us a form for a senior who isn't income eligible or isn't age eligible. So to create a little bit less work for all of us, if you know right off the bat that they aren't eligible for CSFP, then you don't need to send us the CSFP form. Once again, we trust you to tell the senior, we apologize, but you aren't eligible. However, I would highly recommend looking to see if they're eligible for elder share. That would be a great tool to use. And then also, if they're not eligible for elder share, refer them to SNAP, because seniors actually have more leeway in regards to the income that they're allowed to make in order to receive SNAP benefits, even more so than receiving CSFP and elder share. So there's a good chance they could receive benefits in that capacity, or refer them to a food pantry. Any of those would suffice. And if any time a senior wants to talk to us about their eligibility, you can always give out Megan, Barb, or my contact information, and we'd be happy to talk with them.
And Pam.
And Pam, excuse me. I'm sorry. Yeah, and Pam.
Okay, awesome. Very good.
And just real quick, too, when filling out the form, just to remind you, it might not be a bad idea for you, instead of filling out the name and the address and all of that information first, it might be a better idea to ask them for their proof of household income and what their household size is, just to save on some time, because if they didn't bring the proof of household income for everyone, then they can go and retrieve that and bring it back. And then also, if they're not eligible, you haven't filled out half the form already, and then realize that they're not eligible later. So, then that's at your discretion, but it just to save a little bit of time. I know how busy all of us are.
Okay, very good. Awesome.
And next, I think we have a polling question, Maria. I think it's time. It is time.
Time to get up and get moving, and this is quick.
I don't know what to expect right now.
Here we go. So this is going to ask for your participation. So it's going to be a question coming up on your screen that we'll launch, and it's a little quiz and check, and it's going to ask you the question, what do seniors need to provide to register for the program? The poll is open, so please, people are starting to click. What they need to do, there could be more than one answer. Choices are proof of age, individual income, proof of residency, proof of household income, or a receipt from the grocery store. So come on, let's everybody get in there and get it on. People are clicking. Yeah. It is. We're collecting responses, and let's give them a few more seconds. 5, 4, no pressure. 3, 2, 1, 0. Oh, thank you for your responses, and you have been listening. Resounding percentage of folks have chosen the correct answers, which are proof of age and proof of household income. Those are the two that are required. So thank you. You are correct. Those are the two correct answers. All right. Very good. Thank you, everyone. Excellent.
Awesome.
You passed.
All right. Wonderful. Very, very happy to hear that everybody enjoyed our polling question and answered it correctly. So we're going to move right along now, as long as we don't have any pressing questions. Maria, are we good as far as questions go right now?
We do, but thank you, Jennifer, for the question. We will be sharing the new income guideline for the elder share boxes, and then also someone asked about the new income guidelines for CSFP. So all of that, we're going to share the CSFP income guidelines I saw ahead in the presentation, and then Adam will send you the elder share.
Yeah, so the new elder share income guidelines actually come out at a different time than the CSFP income guidelines do. They actually don't come out until July 1st, the new fiscal year. So we'll provide those and send those out to you as soon as they do come out. However, if you don't have a copy of the 2018-19 elder share income guidelines, then just contact one of us and we will provide that to you.
Perfect. All right. Excellent. Okay, let's keep moving on here. Here we go.
Okay, so recertification. I promised you guys, I told you that in about 5 minutes we would have recertification questions answered. So we're going to start out, when will we send you your pre-filled recertification forms? And if I remember correctly, I believe Candy asked the question. Yes, Candy, they will be pre-filled in for you, just like they are every year. We have a mail merge guru in Megan Spey over here who has already gotten all of that together, and we're going to start printing those out actually starting today. So I just wanted to clarify to you the name, the address, all of that good information on the recertification forms at the top of the form especially, and then like race and are you Hispanic or Latino, all of that will be checked in and filled out for you already. What you'll still need to fill out on the recertification forms are the proof of household income, and then also the household size, and then you'll need to do the signatures at the bottom still. But pretty much everything else is going to be filled in for you. You'll also have to you'll have to check source of income and form of ID provided too. So we just have to make sure that you're filling out those sections. But as far as the pre-filled forms, we will be sending those out via mail this year. Which is different than what we've done in previous years. In previous years, we've sent them with your sign-in sheets, okay? That's not going to be the case this year. We need the recertification forms back to us absolutely no later than April 30th, all right? So we are going to be mailing them out starting early next week. So you should be receiving them hopefully by April 1st. If you don't receive them, I would say by the last week, like the first week of April. If you haven't received them by like that Wednesday or Thursday, then get in contact with us right away, and we'll get them to you via other means, because we should have all of them sent out by middle of next week. Okay, so that's really important. Second, if you have a preference or if you have an address that you would want it sent to, you would have to let us know really quickly. We plan on sending all of these forms to your facilities. Okay, so we'll be sending them to the senior centers, the apartment complexes, the food pantries. We'll be sending them all there. So if you want them sent somewhere else, you have to let us know immediately, because we do plan on sending those out, as I mentioned, early next week. All right, so I just wanted to make sure that we had a clarification with that. If a senior has signed up in March, they don't have to recertify. You'll get all of the recertification paperwork for all of the participants on your roster that do need to recertify. Just moving forward, and I know that this is passed, but just so in case anyone hasn't heard this, if a senior signs up in March, they're considered new and don't have to recertify in April. So next year, if you have seniors that come in at the end of February trying to sign them up in March. And even if you just want to, sign them up in February, but just date the form 3/1, even if it's at the end of February that you're signing them up, because then they don't have to recertify a month after they had already provided proof of income and proof of age. All right, so we'll definitely move forward with that protocol in regards to March seniors, seniors signing up in March, not needing to recertify. All of the forms that you receive from us are the people that need to recertify. If you think that there's somebody that should have a form that doesn't, then let us know, and we'll make sure that that you got the forms that you need, and that the senior that you think should have a form does have a form. Another important clarification to make: they have until, like I said, the last day of April, and you can send them back to us via email, fax, or mail. If a senior doesn't recertify by April 30th, though, they will be dropped from the program. And that's important to distinguish. And I know it's only a month, and I know for those of you that have done the program for many years, you remember when it was 3 months for recertification. I think we all wish that it was still 3 months for recertification, but it's not. So we have to, deal with the punches and move forward with that. Now, with that being said, if you need assistance in any capacity, we'll come out and help. I have no problem making a trip anywhere. I mean, I already have 5 or 6 trips scheduled to help sites with recertifications. And if you need further assistance, then please, just reach out to us and let us know. Either Megan, Barb, Pam, or myself, any of us would be more than happy to come out and help you, do your recertifications. If you need an extension or are having, issues completing recertifications, rather than not send them in, call us and let us know. Some of you have a lot of seniors that you need to sign up, 100. And we have a couple sites that have 200 seniors or more on their rosters. If you need extra time, then please let us know. But it is important to try and get them all done by April 30th. Do everything in your best efforts. But if we don't hear from you, then we're just going to assume that those seniors didn't come in to recertify. So please, like I said, if you're having issues getting them to us or getting them completed, let us know, and we'll work with you. We don't want to be the bad guys. We don't want to be the ones that are dropping the seniors off of the program, for minuscule reasons. We want to make sure that we're keeping as many seniors on the program as possible and feeding as many seniors as we can. So please, as I mentioned, if you need help or if you need any assistance, just come out and tell us. Communicate that to us, and we will work with you. All participants and proxies must recertify once a year, which we mentioned earlier. Proxies must recertify or they won't be allowed to pick up the boxes again starting in May. And as we mentioned with the sign-in sheets earlier, if you don't see the caretaker or proxy's name on the sign-in sheets, then that means we don't have clarification and we don't have anything for them in regards to the registration forms and their signatures and or printed names being on those forms. All right, well, I've had this question a couple of times. Elder share participants do not have to recertify, okay? So an elder share participant, when they sign up, they're a one and done. And they sign up and they're done. They never have to provide proof of age and proof of household income again. That's a federal regulation. Elder share is a private program that we run out of the food bank here in Harrisburg. CSFP has the federal regulations, so they are the ones that have to, they're the ones that have to provide the proof of age and proof of household income every year. And just a rule of thumb with CSFP and with elder share, you might say, well, that sounds really great. I'm just going to sign everybody up for elder share then. That doesn't work that way. If they're eligible for CSFP, then they have to sign up for CSFP because USDA pays for all of the inventory that goes in the boxes, whereas we're paying for the inventory that goes in the elder share boxes. With CSFP, just like I said, rule of thumb is if they qualify for CSFP, they have to participate in that program. Rule of thumb is elder share is only for seniors that don't qualify for CSFP but do for elder share in regards to the income requirements. All right. And then last and certainly not least, send recertification forms as you do them. If you need the whole month to do them, then that's fine. But let's say you get 3 done on April 3rd. Send us those 3. We would much prefer to receive them throughout the month than to get 5,200 forms all on April 30th. And that would be a huge help to us. So please, as you do them, it's fine if you send us 1 or 2 forms at a time. We have absolutely no problem with that. And honestly, we would prefer that rather than you holding on and waiting for you to get them all done. Send them to us as you do them. That would be great. All right.
Thumbs up to that.
Okay. Are there any questions on any of that? If you have any, feel free to type those in and keep this interactive. Okay. All right, moving right along. Sign-in sheets. All right, so this is also really important, and this is something that, we just need to go into good detail and adequate detail about to make sure that we're doing this correctly. How to fill out the sign-in sheets correctly. It's not that convoluted and not that difficult, but we've had a lot of mistakes lately in regards to the sign-in sheets being filled out correctly and sufficiently. So these numbers are imperative for our accuracy and for our reporting. The 2 questions on the sign-in sheets that you will see on the back of the sign, usually it's if you have a 1-page sign-in sheet, it'll be at the bottom, but if not, if you have multiple pages, it'll be on the last page. And Maria had just brought that up. Thank you, Maria, for doing that. The questions that are asked at the bottom, red tape boxes distributed this month and red tape boxes remaining this month, these 2 numbers should always equal the amount of participants you have on your roster. So as you see in the example that we have here, if you have 7 people on your roster and you distributed 7 boxes this month, then you should have 0 boxes left over. Let's say you have 10 participants on your roster and you have 2 boxes left over. You should have 8 signatures. Okay? 8 signatures, which would be 8 boxes, red boxes distributed this month, and you would have 2 red tape boxes remaining after this distribution. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're capturing all of that information. Like I said, those 2 numbers should always match or equal out to the amount of participants you have on your roster. The boxes distributed should always be the amount of signatures that you have. Always, boxes distributed is signatures. So
And I think I erased one by mistake.
Okay,
So
Maria erased one by mistake on this form. So if you guys
it should have been.
if you guys have complaints, then just boo in the comments section to Maria. So
I'm trying to protect the privacy of the individual.
I know.
And then I got a little crazy with the eraser, but there was a signature here by this Ruth individual.
Okay. Yep.
So just to clarify, because then it should have been 6 red boxes distributed, and red box remaining would have been 1.
Yes,
So
that's correct.
That was me.
Yep.
So
Okay.
There was something here, just so everybody knows.
All right. And then, so we have the boxes distributed should be the amount of signatures that you have, and the boxes remaining should always equal. Who booed you? Who booed you?
That's okay.
Oh,
That's all right.
That's okay.
That's all right.
Wow. Okay. Tough crowd. Tough crowd. You read my mind.
Oh, Janet was quick. She pulled it up. Some folks already saw. She saw the mistake.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right.
All right.
Good.
Okay. Good. Well, you guys
All
are
right.
paying attention. You're
They
you're a great
and
audience.
thank you for forgiving me.
Great audience.
And I'm glad you're back on, Mary. Good. We're good.
Okay.
We're moving on.
All right.
All right. So.
All right. We're moving on with life. Okay.
They are. They're good.
All right. Anyway, so the boxes remaining then should always equal however many people did not sign on your sign-in sheets. So just so you are aware of that too. If your counts do not match, then Megan and Barb will question you, as many of you probably already know. I'm sure that some of you have heard from them once or maybe more than once already. So it's much easier if you have the correct numbers before sending the sign-in sheets back, because you're going to be questioned anyway if your numbers don't match. So just to the best of your knowledge and with your best effort, please just try and make sure that your signatures match your boxes distributed, and that your leftover boxes match who didn't sign. All right. The sign-in sheets are due back to us either 72 hours after your distribution or by the last day of the month, depending on what type of distribution you're holding. If you hold a one-day distribution, then they're due back 72 hours later. If you hold a month-long distribution, then they're due back by the end of the month. So for sites that receive their boxes in the first week of the month, depending on when your delivery day is, you would need to have your sign-in sheets back actually a little earlier than the last day of the month, because we'll be putting your order in before that. I know that it says that it's due the last day, but if you get your boxes like the first Monday or first Tuesday of the month, there's a good chance that we're going to be doing that order late into the previous month, and we would need the sign-in sheets back a little bit earlier than that. So rule of thumb is, if you can have your sign-in sheets back to us, especially if you're in that first week, if you have them back to us a week before your scheduled delivery, then that makes our lives a lot easier, and it makes it a lot better for everybody. So moving forward, if you know someone that is coming in later to pick their box up, then send the sign-in sheets back to us when that person comes and picks it up. It makes it really difficult for us when you send sign-in sheets in, and then we accumulate and put all of your numbers into our spreadsheets, and then you send us another sign-in sheet, an updated sign-in sheet that has more signatures on it. Please don't send us the sign-in sheets back unless you are completely done with them, or you know for sure that nobody else is going to be coming back in to do anything with them. That's really important too. It just makes everybody's lives a lot easier. Just please, the excuse, that, I don't know what happened, is not really what we want to hear. You need to be accountable for the boxes. These are federal boxes, and, this is federal government property. It's not ours. And it's not yours. We're just the middlemen, really, in regards to that. The inventory that's in those boxes, that's USDA product until the senior signs for it, and then when the senior signs for it, it's theirs. So we can't be losing federal product, and we can't be having anything happen. So it's imperative that you have safe and secure location to store the boxes when they are there, so that if and when you have leftover boxes, there's no chance of them being taken or stolen. We just have to make sure that we're doing that. All right. Your boxes that are left over must be stored until the following month, and they are not to be given out until the next month's distribution. All right, that's really important. You should never, ever, ever be opening the CSFP boxes up and using them for another distribution of some kind. That should never happen. You always hold on to those boxes until the following month. Once the sign-in sheets are sent to us, you cannot give out boxes to seniors who show up to pick them up. Now, I know that sounds harsh, but we have a report that's due to our state contractor at the beginning of the month, and that's why the deadline is the last day of the month. Because how do we accumulate our numbers for the state contractor? We count signatures. And if you have a senior that comes in after you've sent the sign-in sheets to us, and they sign, and you start giving out a box to them and a box to somebody else, well, that's going to skew your numbers, and it's going to skew our numbers as well. So as soon as you send the sign-in sheets back to us, you're considered done and dusted for that month as far as your CSFP distribution. You cannot give out boxes anymore. It must be articulated to the seniors that when the distribution is held by you, and they have to pick up their boxes then, or before the end of the month, to ensure that they receive their box. You know, that's important too. You know, make sure that they know when you're distributing so that they can come in and get their box at that time. All right, we have a question, I think.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And here's the question. Thank you, Karen. Is it against policy to remove a senior from the program if they repeatedly neglect to pick up the boxes?
Yep.
It's a tough question and a tough thing, but
yeah. So, Karen, that's a good question. When you send the boxes or the sign-in sheets, back to us, we remove seniors if they miss 3 months in a row of signing, which is why it's really important that we get the sign-in sheets back. If they miss 3 months in a row, we do remove them, and then they are not allowed, they are allowed to re-sign up again. But one thing that I did want to mention earlier to everybody, and I forgot, when you're signing seniors up for the first time, you need to make it abundantly clear to them that this is not a pick and choose what month I want to show up and pick up my box. Because I know that this sounds really harsh, but if they don't have adequate transportation and they can't make the commitment to picking up the box every month, then it's probably not the program for them. And like I said, I know that sounds bad, but that's just the way it needs to be. We have way, way, way too many leftover boxes at sites right now. And part of that is because there are seniors that sign up that then never show up to pick up their boxes. Or they show up once every 2 or 3 months. And that just can't keep happening. The senior, when they sign up for the program, you need to make it clear to them that they're making a commitment to be there every month to pick up the box. Now, I understand things happen. I get it. I like the weather that we've had in January and February with the snowstorms. I completely understand that. And there are going to be months when people can't make it. And I get that. However, when you have the same offenders all the time not showing up, you know, it just becomes frustrating, and it takes away from other seniors. So it's just really, really important to, you know, distinguish that fact that, you know, when they're signing up, they are really, you know, committing to picking up the boxes every month, and being there every month to get them.
Right.
All right. So just moving forward then, real quick, I had mentioned that once the sign-in sheets are sent to us, nobody's allowed to pick up. And then, you know, just like I said, be sure, you know, to let them know when they can come and pick their boxes up, because we do want seniors to get there. We don't want to turn seniors away because, you know, they came at a date after the sign-in sheets were sent back to us. So please, you know, just like make it known to them, hey, it might be better to come at the beginning of the month than at the end of the month to pick the boxes up. I mean, if you hold a one-day distribution, then that's really easy. But if you're doing a month-long distribution, articulate to the seniors and let them know, hey, we have to have these sign-in sheets back by the end of the month. So instead of coming in the last week of the month, maybe it would be a better idea to come in the first or the second. Okay. Moving forward, no, we're going to stay with sign-in sheets, Maria. Still, sorry. Write-ins should never be on the sign-in sheets ever, period. If a senior is not on your sign-in sheet, then there's a reason for that. Either we don't have a form for them, and they should not receive a box until we do, or they've been dropped for one reason or another. If you believe that we made a mistake, then contact us, and we will tell you if they're to receive a box or not. You should never, ever, ever just write in a senior or have a senior write in their signature and then give them a box. That can't happen, and it won't happen moving forward. I'm not going to allow that anymore. So please, no more write-ins from any of you, because if, like I mentioned, if they're not on your sign-in sheet, then there's a reason for that, and there's usually a good reason. So, like I said, unless you call us, and if we made a mistake, then we will gladly own up to that. I've delivered boxes because of mistakes that we've made, and I'll gladly do it again. If Anna Montanez is on this call, which I don't think she is, down in Lancaster, I mean, I just ran boxes down to her because of the mistake that we made. So I would have no problem doing that for any of you, but we can't just be assuming that someone is eligible when they're not on the sign-in sheet. Or that you can't just assume that we made a mistake. Okay? I think that that's really important to distinguish for all of you. You also cannot sign a senior up on the day of distribution and then give them a box. That can't happen anymore either, because in theory, there shouldn't be any boxes for the seniors to have. Because if you give them a box that's already there, in theory, you should have 0 boxes left over if all of the seniors that are on the roster come and pick up. And then you would be giving a box to somebody, and then somebody else would be shorted. So moving forward, when you sign a senior up on the day of a distribution, you commit to them that we think you're eligible, but we have to send your form into Central Pennsylvania Food Bank, and they will then, they'll put you on the roster for next month. But they don't get a box the month that they sign up. They have to wait a month, and then they get put on the program. This is a new protocol, and it must be followed, even if you were told something different recently. There should be no write-ins unless you call us first and get permission. So just wanted to make sure that we distinguish that. And then please try and send registration forms as you do them as well. I mentioned that with recertification. Depending on when you distribute, sending the registration form with the sign-in sheet might cause the senior not to be put on your roster for that month. So just, as you do registration forms, it doesn't look good when we're getting ready to do your April sign-in sheets and we get a registration form from February. You shouldn't be sitting on registration forms that long. If you're filling them out, send them as you do them, once again. Okay? All right. And that's pretty much it for sign-in sheets. Yeah.
Adam, you need to smile. Oof.
I know. It's serious business.
It is. And
it is.
We understand the regulations.
Yep.
And we understand we give confidence and training to all of our folks on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
We get it. There's a lot going on, but we definitely need everyone's attention. So
yep.
let's
move on away from sign-in sheets, please.
Here we go.
Okay, applicant's rights statement. So these are going to be the forms that are new for all of you. These are new forms that we'll be sending out to you. A lot of these are going to be familiar to you, but they're just in different formats. So the first one is the applicant's rights statement. That's a new form that you will be sent, and it is form number 102020. Okay, Maria, you can go ahead. Next one is your CSFP Food Package Guide form, which is 102023, which shows what products and commodities are inside of the CSFP food box. Right along. Next, we have our updated, as promised and as advertised from Maria. We never disappoint on the CSFP webinars here at the Food Bank. Okay. We have our 2019-2020 income guidelines. And as you'll see, the income guidelines are broken down by annual, monthly, and weekly income, and then based off of the household size. So when you are signing seniors up, depending on what their household size is, you will use that and then move it right on over to determine their eligibility. So if they're a household of 2, they can make $21,983 annually, and you will just continue to do that. All right, moving along, Maria. Zero household income form. This is important. This is actually brand new. So if a senior has 0 income, all right, so if they claim that there is absolutely 0 income, then they have to provide you have to provide this form and accompany this form with the registration form when you send it back to us. All right, so it's really easy. It's the participant's name. Go ahead, Maria. It's just, yep, there we go. The participant's name, state that no member of my household has received any source of income. Income is defined as Social Security, disability, pension, unemployment statement, pay stub, any form of cash during the last 30 days. My household consists of, and then right there is where you will list the household members that are also in the household with them. And then my household has been without income since, and then you'll just list the month and the year. And then I expect to receive some income on or about, and then that is also the month and the year. And then it's either the signature of the participant or the caretaker. And then the caretaker prints their name if it's a caretaker. And that's, like I said, that's brand new. And that form, as mentioned, is only used if a senior claims that they have 0 income, that they don't have any form of income or anything along those lines. All right? Okay. And then moving along, we have the CSFP outreach flyer. This is a brand new flyer that was provided to us by Hunger Free Pennsylvania. And the CSFP outreach flyer should be used if you're doing any kind of outreach or any kind of promotion of the CSFP program. So please use this form if you are able to. And then also the other important thing, we don't have it, we're not showing this right now, we're just showing you the front side, but all of these forms should be printed double-sided so that you have the non-discrimination statement on the back of it. And your CSFP outreach flyer, which is nice, it does have the income guidelines written in on it as well, so that people can see what the eligibility looks like. Okay? All right. Moving right along. All right, forms to be posted during distribution. These forms don't have to be posted the entire month, but most of the time it's just easier to put them up once and leave them up, but that's at your discretion. But the forms that you need to post when you're distributing the CSFP boxes, and so that seniors can see them. If you're distributing your food boxes at an apartment complex, you can't have the forms in your office where nobody can see them. They have to be out where the boxes are being distributed so that the seniors can actually see.
And some folks get very clever with like a bulletin board. They can bring it out, put it on an easel, or things that they can move in and out that's already available. All these forms are on there. We see that a lot with pantries that are sharing spaces. Okay. All right.
All right, and the forms that need to be posted are the applicant's rights statement, the food package contents, the civil rights complaint form, which you all should have copies of already. That's not a new form, but if you don't, let us know and we will send it to you immediately. The And Justice for All poster, which is the big, bright, amazingly cool green poster, right, Maria? Yeah, it is really nice. And then the income guidelines, the up-to-date income guidelines, and then the beneficiary rights statement, if applicable, and that's for religious organizations only. Okay? All right. All right, other CSFP processes that we just want to touch on real quick. Cheese. Seniors have to take the cheese with CSFP boxes. It would be like opening the box up and picking what you want out of it. The only reason why the cheese is not in the box is because it needs refrigerated. So your leftover boxes and your leftover cheese should always match. If a senior says that they don't want the cheese, tell them they have to take it. They have to take the cheese, and they can give it back to, they can give it to a friend, or I'm sure they can find someone else that needs it. And if they say that they can't, then have them donate it back to a pantry. Seriously, they have to take the cheese, though. Your leftover boxes and cheese should always match. Distribution agreements. I will be sending out new distribution agreements, hopefully in May. If not in May, then definitely in June. And then you guys are going to have a month to get those signed and back to me. It's just time. Hunger Free has a new distribution agreement that they want us to fill out and to use moving forward. And like I said, you guys will have a month. We'll send those out with your sign-in sheets in either May or June, and I will send an email out letting everybody know when that is going to occur. But just so you know that that's coming down the pike, just wanted to give you guys that update. We already, yes, and Maria actually has a copy of the distribution agreement. So here it is, and that is really nice. Okay, and then we have seniors have to commit to picking their boxes up every month. I had already touched on that earlier, so I'm just going to skip through that. And then signing up multiple times per year. Seniors can sign up multiple times per year. However, if they miss 3 months twice in the same year, then they can't sign up again for 6 months. So just wanted to articulate that point to everybody as well. Maria, I think it is time for a polling question.
It is. Let's get everybody ready to click and ready to...
Yep. We are almost done. We have one polling question, and then time for one more slide after that, and then we are out of here.
All right.
Okay.
Here we go. Get ready, everyone. Let's see.
Polling question.
Polling
All
question.
right.
Question is, are seniors required to take the cheese for CSFP? Let me launch it, let me start it, and let's see how fast we can get that answer. Holy moly, look at those responses just coming right in. Good Lord.
It's not choke cheese.
No, right. All right, in 3, 2, 1, and everybody can shout it out. The answer is?
Yes.
Perfect. Well done, everyone. Well done. All right, good job.
Okay. All right. So last and certainly not least, we are going to be talking about the waiting list. For those of you that have done CSFP for a long time, you are probably pretty familiar with the waiting list and how that used to be implemented. Well, it is now coming back. The waiting list is upon us, and a big part of the reason is because of the leftover box problem that we were talking about earlier. You know, that is why the waiting list is coming back. We need to dwindle the numbers down of leftover boxes that we have out at our sites. So we will be implementing a waiting list. I have spoken with a majority of the sites that are going to have a waiting list already earlier this week, so you know who you are. I haven't spoken with everyone though, so I will get in contact with other sites after this webinar is completed and let you know if you're going to have a waiting list or not. And Megan and Barb will also remind you and articulate that when they do your orders and send you your boxes, exactly what is going to be, what that'll entail. So it's going to start in April. The waiting list. If you've been contacted by me, like I said, then you'll have a waiting list. If you have not been contacted by me going into April, then you will receive your full allotment of boxes. So if you have a waiting list, we're going to do it on first come, first served basis. So there won't be like 2 separate sign-in sheets, one for the active roster and one for the waiting list per se. But there will only be enough boxes for a certain amount of participants on your roster to pick up. This should necessitate change among seniors to pick up their boxes earlier in the month so that they know that they will be receiving one. Okay. If you never have leftover boxes, then you should never have a waiting list because you'd always distribute all of them. And this is going to be a month-by-month case. So if you start to dwindle your leftover boxes and get closer to having 0 left over, then you will also have the opportunity for your waiting list to go away. So like if you have 20 boxes left over consistently and that number goes down to 5, then there's a very good chance that your waiting list number then is going to be like 5, because more than likely the waiting list number would be around 20 to start. But this will fluctuate month to month. And just because you don't have a waiting list right now doesn't mean that you won't have a waiting list moving forward. So it's really, really imperative to make sure that you keep distributing your boxes because, we didn't want to re-implement the waiting list, but it's just we didn't think that there were any other solutions. And unless my math is perfect, there's a really good chance that you should have enough boxes for everybody. I used a pretty conservative number for all of you this month, and starting in April. So you should be able to have enough boxes for everyone still, especially if your numbers are consistent with who has been picking up and who hasn't. So like I said, the biggest reason for doing this is really just to make sure that we're getting the leftover boxes, out of your facility, because it's not fair to us and it's not fair to you. We know that every facility has space constraints. We don't want you sitting on 10, 15, 20, in some cases 30 boxes. That's not fair to you either. So we just want to make sure that you understand that. This has been a huge issue for over a year now, though. And this is how we're going to try and fix it. And it's also how the rest of the state coordinates the program. The way that we were sending boxes to everybody before and not doing it based off of the waiting list is not how anybody else in the state does it. So we're moving more towards that median of doing it on a state protocol level. And we will be following that protocol moving forward. And we will definitely let you know if anything changes in regards to this. This is, the infant stages of the waiting list as well, and it's just an initial evaluation period. So if there are certain aspects that we need to, tweak, we will definitely work with you to articulate those, and we will definitely, like I said, always keep you in the loop when it comes to if you have a waiting list, how much your waiting list is, and how many boxes you're to receive on a month-by-month basis, which we always do anyway. But the biggest thing for you, like I mentioned, is if you have a waiting list, just know that it's a first-come, first-served basis. It's not like you will actually have a waiting list per se. Everybody will be on one sign-in sheet, and it'll just be you will distribute the boxes until they're done, and that's it. Okay. All right. I think we're good, Maria.
Okay, we have a couple folks that are listening in, and this is a good suggestion that we have from one of our participants here. We are an apartment complex. Seniors often forget, so I put reminder flyers out the day before in common areas, reminding them to pick up their boxes. This helped a lot with any leftover boxes. So here we go. Look at all these best practices.
Yeah. That's a great suggestion. And you know who that was from, Maria?
Karen.
Okay, Karen, yeah, thank you so much. That's really good. If anybody else has any best practices that they use to get rid of their boxes, please share right now, because I am open to anything to get boxes out the door and out of your facilities. But putting reminder flyers out there, because seniors can be forgetful. It can happen, and I mean, I'm forgetful, and I'm not a senior. So it's definitely something that can be used as a tool to help seniors remember to come and pick their boxes up, which is really nice.
Okay, and I think we're ready for the next slide, which are questions, comments, best practices, anything here. From Jessica, she had to step away, but she is saying that there is a senior who would like to donate everything but the cheese moving forward. They claim that they can't use, do not like most of the things in the box. How would we address this?
It's a very nice thought and very nice of the senior to want to, donate their product to someone who needs it. But this is a senior program, and the food and the commodities that are in the box are to go to the senior. So if there are dietary restrictions or they can't use the product that's in the box, then they're just going to have to be removed from the program. The box and the commodities that come with it need to be for the senior and the senior alone.
Very good. Some other best practices coming in and comments about how to remind folks. this individual, they always post the information in monthly newsletters about things coming up, their distribution, all the recertification, all of those things. So thank you, Candy. Thank you. All right.
That's awesome, Candy. Thank you for that. And I do just want to mention real quick to everybody as well, we've been putting memos in the boxes since January reminding seniors about recertification in April and about bringing their household income in April. So they should know to do it. So I just wanted to just throw that out there to everybody as well.
All right. Sherry. All right. From Columbia Montour Aging. Great suggestion. She takes the time, she's able to call her people that have not come the day before and remind them about the pickup. Wow. Talk about over and above and beyond. Fantastic.
Thank
Sherry.
you. Woohoo! Way to go, Sherry. That's fantastic.
All right.
I'm sure that you might have other sites that would want to hire you to do that same thing. That's awesome. So are there any other questions? I think that we've touched on most of them. If you have any other questions, make sure that you post those now. But Maria just threw a paper clip at me, by the way. No, I'm kidding. She really didn't. But I just wanted to thank all of you again. Just some closing remarks that, this is not the easiest program to manage, and I completely understand that. Trust me, there are days that I want to pull my hair out because of CSFP. But, it's a program that's very rewarding to be able to feed low-income seniors that really do need assistance. And these are people a lot of times that have worked their entire lives and are just, whether they're down on their luck or don't have quite as much money in the bank or had something unforeseen happen. These are people that have worked and just have fallen on rough times, and the work that all of you do to help these people and to feed these seniors is commendable. And I'll clap for that for sure. All of you do exemplary work. And this session today was for information on new processes as much as anything. All of you do great work, and you're tremendous partners to have, and I wouldn't trade any of you for anybody else. So thank you from me, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you from the seniors for the efforts that you all put in, that you do, and that how you coordinate a program that is not necessarily the easiest to coordinate. I know that you put a lot of effort and time into this, and that is seen by me and by my staff. And we are so, so grateful for everything that you do. So thank you for sitting in on our session today. Thank you for everything that you do. And I will turn it over to Megan and Barb and Pam if they have any closing remarks that they would like to articulate to you. Thank you, everyone.
The only thing I'd like to say is that if you do have a question that you don't think was addressed or you still want a little more clarification, feel free to reach out to myself, Barb, Adam, or Pam, and we'll work with you to help you understand the nuances of this program, because believe me, we know that it's tricky and the different rules and regulations that are imposed, we get it. So just give us a call, reach out. We're always happy to help.
There are no dumb questions. Call. If you have a question, I learn. So thanks everybody for your patience, and ditto to call us if you have any additional questions. Pam, thanks for running the North.
All right. Pam, any final thoughts?
No, that was great.
Oh, that was great. Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Pam.
Oh, very good. And we love you too. And we love all our folks participating. Shout out to everyone that was able to join us live. Some folks we understand had distributions. The good news is you will be getting a copy of this presentation. You'll be getting a recording of this lovely session as well. And follow-up presentation materials will be also sent out by Adam. The webinar recording, any special paperwork, anything else will come up. So all of it is great to review and process through. So we had other comments and suggestions come through for processes and best practices. Thank you those folks that shared that information. We'll kind of combine all of that and get that out to you. We are about to close. You have done an amazing job. Thank you, Adam, Megan, Barb, and Pam. We also want to thank all our participants. Thank you so much. We're about to close here in Harrisburg and in Williamsport. Before we close the session, there's an evaluation that comes up to let us know, let the speakers and presenters know. If you have time, take a few moments to complete that. It's good feedback for all of us to plan for future sessions and trainings and whatnot. So again, we thank you so much from all of us here. Thank you, thank you. Have a great day. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Bye. Signing off. Take care. Thank you.